Good day, and welcome to the Lilly Roddy Show, coming to you from the LRS studios here in Houston, Texas. Thank you so much for joining me this week as we look at March 8th through the 14th, 2015. And I always appreciate all the compliments and comments I get about my show and what you think. So it matters, and I do listen. I hope you're all doing as well as you can during this winter storm. The storms have been very intense in the Northeast and really may not let up until the end of March. And not so surprisingly, the actual strongest weather patterns are actually in the Northeast United States over the whole globe. It's that much more intense. And of course, spring is coming next week, and that should help. It was a busy week last week with Venus making contact with Uranus and Pluto. This week, Mars, planet of action and anger, makes contact with our ongoing Uranus-Pluto square. This is very strong on the 10th, 11th, and 12th. We will all want to act on how we are feeling. People will be more openly angry, potentially hostile, and defensive. But you have to remember that no one can be challenged who does not accept the challenge. Paraphrasing the Tao Te Ching there. Choose your battles carefully. A more American version. If you would like to contact me, you can always reach me at Lillyroddyshow@AOL.com, Lillyroddyshow.com, or find us on Pinterest, Twitter, or Facebook. Let's get to our weekly forecast for March 8th through the 14th. Sunday, March 8th. Today marks the start of Daylight Saving Time for 2015. The moon spends the entire day transiting Libra, the sign that seeks balance and compromise. She does turn void, of course, at 8:24 p.m. and will remain so throughout the remainder of the day. In the morning, the moon opposes Uranus at 12:49 a.m. This may be keeping us up later than usual. If you're awake, you will need some kind of mental stimulation. It's a good time to chat with friends online. The moon squares Pluto at 2:27 a.m. Emotionally, we are feeling a bit more raw than usual. Since this event takes place early in the morning, many of us will experience this through our dreams. Relationship problems could be at the core of this. And in the morning, the moon opposes Venus at 10:58 a.m. We're all feeling more connected in the later morning. This is a very good time to be dealing with relationships, business or personal, and to make sure that we all have common goals. Overall, this is a good time to indulge in your sensual nature. The moon trines Mercury at 8:24 p.m. Our communication skills are excellent this evening. This would be a good time to have a discussion about future plans or spending the evening with your neighbors. People are able to hear better during this time. The moon is now void, of course, at 8:24 p.m. until she enters Scorpio at 8:10 a.m. on Monday morning. Monday, March 9th. The moon starts the day void, of course, in Libra. She does enter Scorpio, the evaluator, at 8:10 a.m. and is no longer void, of course. Even though the moon is not void, we don't have any lunar aspects until the very end of the day. We will want to be productive today, but you'll have to keep your to-do list handy so you don't get off track. And our only lunar aspect for the day, the moon trines Neptune at 11:26 p.m. It's a great evening for relaxing or just communing with the ethers. Keep your plans simple this evening. Tuesday, March 10th. The moon resides in emotionally reserved Scorpio for the entire day. We start our day off with Mars trining Jupiter at 1:04 a.m. With this planetary combination, we're feeling energetic, hopeful, and are considering the long-term and far-reaching impacts of our own actions and choices. These are especially good energies for starting a new project, negotiating deals that have to do with the expansion of your company, or taking action in your community. And since this aspect is in effect for about a week, you'll have plenty of time to utilize this very positive energy. Act in your own best self-interest with Mars trining Jupiter. The Moon squares Jupiter at 11:31 a.m. Keep your lunch plans open this late morning, as you may want to get away from your routines. We may be feeling strongly about our views this morning, and we'll want to share them with everyone we come into contact with. If you're at work, keep your day light and playful. The Moon sextiles Pluto at 2:02 p.m. We're really trying to be productive this afternoon. It's a great time for any sort of business activity, and even if you're at home, you'll have an agenda to keep you on your toes. It's a wonderful afternoon to be checking on your investments. The Moon trines the Sun at 11:55 p.m. Our energy ends on a good note. This combination of planets is good for almost any type of activity. We're a bit more reserved and will want to choose our company carefully. Wednesday, March 11th. The day begins the Moon in Scorpio and turns void of course at 2:46 p.m. She remains void of course for almost 4 hours until she enters freedom-loving Sagittarius at 6:30 p.m. Plan your more important activities before or after the void moon. Today, Mars makes contact with Uranus-Pluto square that has been going on since 2008. Uranus and Pluto are responsible for the governmental world upheaval we are experiencing. Uranus is nitroglycerin, Pluto is dynamite, and Mars is the fuse. Sounds like a fun day, doesn't it? Mars conjuncts Uranus at 11:06 a.m. Since Mars will be in contact with both Uranus and Pluto for the next 4 to 5 days, this can be an edgy and volatile time period. We will all want to be expressing our needs for personal freedom and independence. This can also make us a lot more aggressive and defensive. This is a good time to start a new project or business. Choose your battles carefully and remember that no one can be challenged who does not accept the challenge. My advice is, if you see drama, go the other direction and keep your exit plans handy. The Moon squares Mercury at 2:46 p.m. We're feeling very communicative this afternoon, but we have to be careful that we don't try to juggle too many things. Communications are easy, but we may not be monitoring ourselves as well as we usually do. Choose your words carefully. The Moon is now void of course in Scorpio at 2:46 p.m. and will remain so for the next 4 hours. Mars squares Pluto, the second part of our Uranus-Pluto square, at 5:37 p.m. Even with the Moon void of course, we are feeling the intensity of these squares. With these two planets, we're able to push back against the forces that may want to control us. We are all very likely to feel extra defensive and potentially overreactive to all kinds of situations over the next couple of days. On a worldwide scale, this will certainly be affecting the wars that the U.S. is engaged in. Our animal senses are turned up when these two planets combine. Pay attention. This aspect is in effect for the next 4 or 5 days. The Moon enters Sag at 6:30 p.m. and we're no longer void of course. As the Moon enters Sag, we may feel even stronger about our position and views. Take a few steps back and try to get a bigger perspective. Thursday, March 12th. The moon occupies dogmatic Sagittarius for the entire day. Early in the morning, the moon conjuncts Saturn at 3:48 a.m. One of the best things that I can say about this aspect is that that'll occur when most of us are asleep. Whenever the moon and Saturn combine, it's a great time to be considering all worst-case scenarios. The moon squares Neptune at 9:13 a.m. We're having a slow start to our overall morning. You will need that extra caffeine to get yourself through the early morning. We're all feeling a bit overly sensitive. If you can take some time for yourself in the morning and plan your afternoon to be more productive, you'll feel better about your day. The moon trines Jupiter at 8:08 p.m. We're feeling much more upbeat and social this evening. This is a great time for a class, spending time with your friends, or just getting away from it all. We're happy, but not very motivated. The moon trines Uranus at 10:41 p.m. Our social evening is extended with this combination of planets, moon and Uranus. The perfect evening is to take it easy, get rid of your expectations, and just enjoy the moment. Mercury, planet of communication and daily activity, enters Pisces at 10:32 p.m. for an approximate 18-day stay. Mercury in Pisces is a time when we will be much more receptive to the psychic influences around us. Pay close attention to the people that you allow into your daily existence. They will have more impact on you than usual. Make sure that you take some time for meditation or just time for yourself with Mercury in Pisces. Friday, March 13th. Friday the 13th. The moon travels through philosophic Sagittarius for the entire day and does turn void of course at 6:11 p.m. and remains so for the rest of the day. So just get most of your activity taken care of before that time. In the morning, the moon trines Mars at 12:43 a.m. We are feeling a bit more energetic this early morning, but it shouldn't prevent us from sleeping. Whatever you're doing, you're enjoying it. The moon squares the sun at 12:48 p.m. It's lunchtime and we're busy. Be careful that you don't overload your afternoon and take on more than you can get done. And overall, make sure you take some time for yourself with this lunar aspect moon square the sun. The moon trines Venus at 6:11 p.m. Our early evening starts with a very pleasant connection between our emotional state and our loving desire. It's a great time to be with the person that you really love. Otherwise, it's a good time to be out with friends or entertaining clients. The moon does turn void, of course, in Sag at 6:11 p.m. and remains so until she enters Capricorn at 1:40 a.m. on Saturday morning. Saturday, March 14th. The day begins the moon void of, I wish I could even speak. The day begins the moon with the moon void, of course, in Sag, but she quickly enters earthy and frugal Capricorn at 1:40 a.m. and is no longer void, of course. The moon sextiles Mercury at 5 a.m. If you're up early this morning, this is a good time for any type of organizing or planning. It's also a good morning to get out and walk or to do some exercise if you can. And on this day, Saturn, planet of structure and discipline, turns stationary retrograde at 10:02 a.m. Saturn will remain retrograde until the beginning of August. The Saturn retrograde signifies a time of rethinking our current agenda and putting some of the more important plans we have into action. We are ready to make decisions and follow through on our commitment during this Saturn retrograde. The moon sextiles Neptune at 3:34 p.m. In the afternoon, we're feeling creative and expressive. It's a good time for writing and getting your soul's thoughts onto paper. We'll probably want to turn down our productive level a couple of notches and relax into our afternoon on this Saturday. It's nice to end the week on a pleasant aspect. As you can see, the middle of the week is fairly tense, with Mars activating the Uranus-Pluto square. This weekend is better with less tension. If you have any questions, of course, I'd love to hear from you. Thanks for watching my show, and I hope to have you back next week as we look at March 15th through the 21st of 2015. This is the Lilly Roddy Show, coming to you from the LRS studios here in Houston, Texas. Reminding you to keep those stars in your eyes. Bye-bye.